It's time for News You Need. News You Need is a look at current events and how they affect the college community and beyond. And now here's the host of News You Need, Dr. Ed Simpson.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to yet another exciting and amazing edition of News You Need. For both of our listeners out there, you might have had just a few seconds of silence. That was not the official apocalypse, just, the unofficial apocalypse.
Yeah, not official.
So why are we here? Well, this is the show where we talk about what's in the news, and the reason we care is that as a society of citizens and human beings, we need to make decisions about the direction that we think we should go, and in order to do that, you need to understand the issues confronting our communities, confronting our state, confronting our nation, and the only way to do that is to consume the news, think about the news, talk about the news. That's why we're here with the most amazing group of human beings in the whole world, which is our USM students, and we have another great group today. But first, we also have with us Dr. Hale, our co-host. Would you like to introduce yourself, and then we'll go around and you guys tell us who you are, perhaps your major, what group you're with, and then we'll get going.
This is when I exercise my free will and say no.
No, not doing it.
No, yeah, so I am Dr. Brent Hale. I'm an assistant professor here in the school, and I, once again, got dragged into this just to see what would happen. You never know what's going to happen on the show. We get some interesting conversations. Maybe
Correct.
This one will be dull. I don't know. We'll find out together.
Yeah, I'm Vivian Hale. I am a junior psychology major from Mandeville, Louisiana, and I'm serving as the Chief of Staff of the Southern Miss Student Government Association.
Chief of Staff, so we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
In Mandeville, Louisiana, we have quite a few students from that area of Louisiana.
Yeah, they recruit hard.
They do. So why did you come to USM?
So honestly, it might sound like a cheesy answer, but really when I came to USM, I felt like there was so much care for me as an individual. I know when you go to a lot of colleges, oftentimes you're just a number. You're just someone they're trying to recruit. But when I came to USM, I actually came as a communications major.
Really?
Yes, I did. And they just really made me feel like I was a person, like they wanted to get to know who I was individually. And so I really appreciated that. And I was like, I know I need to go here.
That's great. I'm happy to hear that. That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
My name is Imani Gibbs. I am a senior child and family sciences major, and I'm president of Reading Her Story Book Club here on campus.
Reading
Her Story. Or
Her Story. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Book club. Wow. Students are reading books, Dr. Hale.
Yeah, I know. That's exciting.
That's the second evidence of the apocalypse.
Yeah, the first evidence was when I blinked out of existence for 30 seconds and came back.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so that's amazing. You guys are awesome as usual. So Chief of Staff for SGA. So what are you all up to? What is Chief of Staff and what is SGA up to?
Yeah, so Chief of Staff is so I serve as the President's Chief of Staff. So I'm essentially like the chief advisor to our new president. And I'm very grateful to be in that role. So it's kind of managing the functions of our executive branch. SGA at Southern Miss is set up similarly to the American government. It's not a perfect match, but so I'm essentially the president is over everything, but I help do some of those management side of things. So I'm over our Department of Programming, Policy, Initiatives, and our freshman programming as well.
Gotcha. So Student Government Association has no official authority, but they recommend to the president things that the students want.
Somewhat. So our president does have some control in, what gets done in SGA, but a lot of what you're going to see from SGA comes from our legislative branch. We do have a full Senate, and they pass legislation every single week. So those are making recommendations to various offices on campus, whether that be physical plant or Eagle Dining, whatever it may be. So hearing the needs of students and passing actual legislation to hopefully get those things done.
That's awesome.
But, yeah.
And Chief of Staff is an appointed but not elected. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Yes.
That's great. Excellent. I love our SGA, right? You guys,
Hey, me too.
you're representative of the student body. Without our student body, the university obviously does not exist, right? So you guys go
Yeah.
team. Love that. Talk to me about your club. What's going on?
Yeah, so we are relatively new. We were chartered October of 2023. And it's been so wonderful getting to build this space. I had a vision as a freshman when I realized that there wasn't a book club, and I was like, we have everything else, it seems like, and not that. So, yeah, I finally went and started it, and it's been great. And so essentially we read books every month, hopefully, if we have time. And then the rest of that month, we usually have like a social event, and it's more community building and just connecting with each other. Really.
I absolutely love that. And so you are the founder and president?
Yes.
Okay. So how many members do you got?
Currently, I want to say we're maybe around somewhere between 25 and 30.
Yeah,
I think.
that's a good number. Yeah, that's a good number. What title are you currently reading? Can you share that?
So this year we've actually tried something new where we have 2 titles and the members pick which one they want to read. And so this month we did graphic novels, and we have one called Wash Day Diaries, and it's 4 vignettes, and it's super cute. I've already read that one. It's really cute. Okay. And then the second one is Bingo Love, and it is a multi-generational queer love story from I think it starts in like the 40s or the 60s or something. It's really cool.
And then you talk about it.
Yes.
As a book club does.
We talk about it.
I love that. I was a member of a book club.
Really?
For a while.
They had books back then?
They did. Yeah, you had to. It was hard to turn the rocks over, to get to. But yeah, my experience is it's for the 80+ crowd. Mm-hmm. But I love to hear our students reading books. Yeah. That's great. Okay, I love all that. So, talk to me about what is news this week to our USM students. What are we talking about out there? Okay, let me. Well, that's okay, right? But I suspect some of our students are talking about finals.
Absolutely.
So, what in your circles? Let me ask you this. Let me ask it better. In your circles, what are you talking about? Your USM student circles. What are you talking about?
Really, we're talking about just the current political sphere.
Yeah.
And a lot of changes, and just the uncertainty of what even the rest of this year will look like, let alone the next few years. Okay,
I find that fascinating. I want to dig into that. What do you think?
I think definitely that's something that students are talking about. I know in my sphere, honestly, all we ever talk about is student government.
Wow, you guys are boring.
Yeah, it is.
So wow,
it really is.
What do you talk about at the parties?
Oh God, what do you mean?
Just you stay on SGA.
At the student government
that's
parties?
very exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Hale, what are you hearing from students? Anything?
What am I hearing from students right now? I'm hearing not a lot. So we've been kind of keeping the pulse a little bit over the last several months about how people are talking about different things or not talking about different things. And I think we're back in a lull again. So we went through a spike where there was a lot of attention to what was going on. It's always, and this is basically a politics show anymore.
Yep.
Right? It's been about politics. And I think in the last week, things have kind of slowed down a little bit. And it's because just the rhythm of the semester, we get near the end. And
yeah.
there's a lot more focus.
And there's a rhythm in the news, right?
Sure.
But I do, a consistent stream that I hear is exactly what you said. This idea of anxiety over the future. What's going to happen within the context of the chaos coming out of Washington, right? Mm-hmm. So I'll just throw you a headline here. So this is from the New York Times: pressuring migrants to Yeah, so we're just about out of time in this segment, but I'm going to throw this headline out, and then we'll pick it up on the other side. From the New York Times: pressuring migrants to self-deport. White House moves to cancel Social Security numbers. So we'll come back and pick up that happy idea on the other side.
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Imagine
Imagine being denied an apartment because of housing discrimination.
It's so wrong.
But who has the power to stop this?
You do. The law is on your side. If you've been discriminated against because of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, or familial status, file a complaint with HUD. Fair housing is your right.
Use it.
Visit HUD.gov/fairhousing, a public service message from HUD and the National Fair Housing Alliance.
Okay, we are back. So this idea of anxiety over the future, what's going to happen, and so the national news, state news, I do want to get to some state news as well, is chock full of these headlines of anti-immigrant, anti-DEI, anti-this, anti-that. And our students are picking up this in terms of an anxiety over what I knew may not be the same thing going forward. And what does that mean to me? That's what I hear from our students. So talk to me a little bit about that. Are you all hearing that over in SGA? Is there any bubbling up to our campus representatives on these things?
Absolutely. I know Southern Miss does have a huge international student population, and that is really represented in SGA. We have a ton of international students, and that is something that they are concerned about. And I know that that's definitely on the front of our minds. We want to do as much as we can to support the entire student body. And so, it is definitely in talks of how we can best support our international students, how we can best support programs on campus, while still following university policies and things like that. But it definitely is something on the forefront of our minds.
Yeah, interesting. How's it manifesting for you? How are you seeing it?
Mostly personal. I have friends who have immigrated to this country at different points in their lives that are students here, and just seeing the things that they post on their personal social medias and what they confide in me about, it's really scary, especially because sometimes I just feel like, what can I do, as one person to support you in this kind of, I know nothing about that, type of life, I guess. So that's mostly how I've been seeing it.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting if you think about it in a macro sense. It's like there's been a shift in the way we think about international people in general, I guess, especially when it comes to students, because the way that this country has functioned for quite a while is we want to bring the best and brightest here. Right? We have a really strong, robust higher education system, and so we bring people here, and we're very selective, in fact, as a country in general, about who we let in to study. And then the hope is that they'll stay. And we know, as a school that grants PhDs here, right? So we get people who are pursuing the highest level of education that we can offer. And would you agree with me that most of them want to stay? They want to stay in the U.S. They want to work here.
Pretty much 100%, not 100%,
very
95%.
Clear, very close, yeah. Like almost all want to stay. And that's kind of like the point, is we'll bring the best in. We'll show them, like, this is how amazing the United States is, and then you'll want to stay, and then we retain the best, right? That's kind of the idea. But we've seen a shift. And the shift is, you know what? You're not helping us anymore. We don't want you here. And that's a hard shift.
It's a hard shift, and I think it's an emotional shift. And I think that we are not talking about that enough. This is my hypothesis. You guys tell me how crazy I am, right? Is that when you see headlines in the New York Times, which is not, despite what you may hear, a leftist organ, it is very much center of the road, if anything, on the conservative side, but a move by the White House to cancel Social Security numbers of immigrants without due process, just canceling it. So you can no longer work, you can no longer have a bank account, you can no longer, and that, I think, what we don't address, and this is, I want you guys to talk about this, is this emotional idea or this emotional tie to who America is, what America is. And is that a dramatic shift from what we thought it was, and how do we process that?
Absolutely. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there for me, is especially, you grow up and life is a certain way, especially as a kid. We're just now shifting into young adulthood, and so you grow up thinking this is the way life will always be, this is how the laws will always be, and we're being really confronted with, no, it can change in the blink of an eye. And I think especially the way it's shifting, like you said, without due process is especially alarming, and it's scary, simply, to me.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with that. I do think it's really concerning, and I know for me, all of the things that I believe, like on a moral level, are about supporting people, and no matter where they come from, no matter who they are. And so it is definitely discouraging to see, legislation being put out that is, coming for people's identities.
Yeah. Well, and I think legislation would be one thing, but these are executive orders.
Yeah.
Right? So moving away from the rule of law to the rule of one.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you get your arms around that?
And in process, also removing due process of the people
Correct.
who are being affected. That's a double whammy.
Yeah.
And
It's a real emotional, and I will say this, it's a real emotional hit for me. I mean, I've been trying to process this for months now. I just can't. I can't. What I do is come on the radio and talk to the best people in the world, and that helps me, gets me through another week, right? But this is tough, isn't it? Or am I just completely wrong?
No, it's tough. I think for me, what I found is the most difficult is that life doesn't stop for me. So like I said, I'm a senior, and I graduate in 2 weeks, and I'm supposed to be celebrating that, but there's this overhead of just sadness.
Well, I think you really hit something there. Is that life continues. Wow, right? So we're all, like those of us that are aware of what's going on, you go, oh, but yet somehow we wake up, we eat breakfast, we go to work, we do all these things, and life continues. That may be the most emotionally wrenching part of it. I'm looking at you, way in there.
Yeah, I mean, it is completely disheartening, and I know, like, tying that back into SGA, even if these orders don't technically affect me personally, I do think SGA is such a diverse organization on campus, and I'm seeing how it is affecting all different kinds of people. And like I said, as someone who wants the best for people and wants to protect people of
Right.
whoever they are, it is definitely disheartening.
Well, that's why folks go into government service, right?
Yeah.
To protect others, not yourself. You don't need to protect yourself. You need to protect others. Really interesting stuff. So, well, there you go. So let me throw another headline at you. China trade. This is from this morning, actually. And so, Dr. Hale, I'd be interested to see what you think. New York Times, again. Trump claims he is negotiating with China on trade. China says otherwise.
Oh, there's so many moving parts to that one. So, from both sides of this problem, there's a lot of I'm going to say something, and whether it's true or not doesn't really matter. It just kind of matters how people think. And so the Trump administration has definitely proven over and over that they will say things, even if it's not totally true. But at the same time, the Chinese president, Xi Jinping, will also do the same thing and say, or his cabinet or whoever, it's not usually him, will say that, like, we're doing this or whatever, and it appeases the Chinese people. So who even knows? Now, I'm going to assume there are conversations happening. Do I believe that it's happening between the two leaders? No, I think it's happening between other delegations, right, that are talking. And who knows how much progress is being made? I have no idea.
Yeah. Now, are students following this tariff trade war stuff?
I don't believe so, outside of just the headlines. And if anything, I'm just seeing like a lot of jokes about being able to shop from Shein, changing, which is a Chinese shopping company.
Yeah.
So that's probably the extent that I've seen of students keeping up with the trade situation or the tariff situation.
Yes, no, I was going to say the exact same thing. I really think the students that are talking about it, it's more of a kind of joking manner and kind of like a personal thing, like, oh, I can't get my cheap dresses off of Shein anymore.
Well, I do wonder about that. Do our students care about prices? Just writ large, just the prices of stuff. Do you guys care about that? Or is it just something?
Absolutely.
I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, being in college is a very trying time financially, so
You do care.
you gotta look out for it.
Yeah. So what is the last thing that you've purchased on, what are you guys using now? Temu?
Oof, I haven't shopped from
Oh,
Temu.
me neither.
No?
I've bought, probably the last thing I've bought online was maybe like 6 months ago or so. Yeah, I'm saving for an
What?
apartment, so like I'm being
for you.
really
Yeah.
stringent right now.
Good for you.
Yeah, I honestly have not done a lot of online shopping recently.
What's going on?
I would say the last thing I probably bought terrible is clothes.
Well, you guys all buy clothes, don't you?
Yeah.
But you buy it from Shine?
Not no.
My
No?
friends do.
Not recently.
You
Yeah, my friends do. They'll always show me, oh yeah, I got something new. Look what I got. Look what I got.
Well, it's wild because people will show me, they're like, look at this 200 item order that I just got. It was $10. Like it's
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah, it's my impression is you guys are buying stuff online all the time.
Yeah, the economy's pretty tough right now.
Well, it is, and I think that maybe is changing. Maybe a year ago, you guys were buying more stuff.
Definitely.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so we hit on a trend here.
There you go.
There you go.
We've solved it.
We solved it. We know what's going on. So you're paying attention to the economy in that you're buying less stuff because it is more expensive for you. If things were cheaper, you'd probably go back to buying more stuff. Interesting. That's economics 101, yes?
Yeah, and it's interesting as well. So when we first started having these tariffs going into place, I'll say that the people that I know who have more resources available and aren't living to paycheck, we're like, okay, big items I've been waiting for, I'm buying them now. I'm going to get them right now before they get more expensive. So I think there was a little bit of a surge for buying certain types of things that we knew would get more expensive, and now it's stopped.
Yep.
Because everyone knows like things are about to get really pricey.
Okay, so let me throw another headline at you. This is from CNN, and it's a different change, a little bit different, still kind of dark. CNN, Vatican asks visitors not to take selfies with the late Pope. I really think that, so I wanted to get our young people's take on this as part of our culture, right? So thousands of people lined up at the Vatican to view the body of the Pope who died this week. Pope Francis died this week. Number one, do our students care that the Pope died? And number two, what do you think about people standing in line for 12 hours so they can take a selfie with the body of the Pope in a casket?
Honestly, I think asking them not to take selfies, I think that's a reasonable ask. I know if it was me,
Yeah.
I don't really want somebody up there with a selfie.
Would you take a selfie with the dead Pope?
Not at all.
I don't believe you.
No chance.
I think you would.
I know a few of my friends who grew up Catholic has talked about it to me about the Pope dying and all, but I had to look up what a Pope was, to be completely honest, just because I knew it was a figurehead,
That
but I
is
didn't know
interesting.
I didn't know what that looks like.
Wow.
And so, but I do, like Vivian said, I do think it's respectful to not take selfies with the dead body.
Okay, now you guys say this. Now, okay, 10 years ago, when I first started talking about social media in class, I had a little case of a gentleman who was charged with a crime. Oh, we're going to pick up this old person story on the other side of the break.
Sponsorship comes from American Graphics. Located at 8 Commercial Warehouse Drive in Hattiesburg, American Graphics provides custom screen printing and embroidery. They can be reached by phone at 601-602-2277. And the website is goamericangraphics.com. American Graphics, printing at its finest.
You may not realize how important 3 letters can be. For a patient who needs type A, B, or O blood, these letters can mean life, but there simply aren't enough people giving blood. Without more donors, hospitals may not have the blood needed to save lives. That's why the American Red Cross needs people to help restore the A's, B's, and O's that are depleting each day. You are the missing type patients need. Visit redcrossblood.org/missing types or call 1-800-RED-CROSS to make your donation appointment today.
Well, as usual, as part of our shenanigans, we had a better conversation off radio than we did on. So I accused our guests and Dr. Hale of actually taking selfies with a dead Pope if they could, and they insisted they would not.
Now, wait a second. I was not thrown under the bus in that way.
Well,
I certainly ain't doing that. That's crazy.
Really?
I'm envisioning, I got my phone out, I'm holding it, listeners, and I'm thinking, okay, so I've got it, and the Pope is behind.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. That's
really?
Just, that's
and that's
so
what our
weird.
students are telling me, and I'm looking them in the eye, and I'm saying, man, so 10 years ago, when I first started talking about social media, probably 15 years ago, when I started talking about social media in class, there was a case of a young man out in Ohio who was charged with the crime of failing to aid because when he came across a traffic accident, his first thought was to take a selfie with the burning car. And that went viral, actually. So the guy probably got really rich off of it. But this selfie culture, think about that for a second. So talk to me about that for a minute and maybe what that might mean to our democracy and our society. This idea of a selfie culture, that you would have to pass a rule, don't take a picture of yourself with a dead guy.
Well, this is something I've actually thought about a lot on social media because I am quite a sensitive person. Like I said, I get squeamish about things. I also have a big heart about things. And so for me, I think it's crazy even recording fight videos personally.
Oh, well, there you go.
I think that the internet and our ability to record virtually anything and post it online, I think it's desensitized us. And I know people used to say that about television and violence in movies, that it desensitized us, but I think this is an entirely new level of it. And yeah, I think that, well, just like you said, with it happening like in what it might look like for our society, I think we just are far removed from things. Our hearts aren't as involved anymore.
Beautifully said.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you become so desensitized to violence on people, you know, it seems easier to justify in your head maybe. And so I think when we're seeing, you know, headlines like we're seeing and things that are actively affecting people's lives, maybe it feels easier to justify, especially with, you know, social media and the internet. Everything feels so far removed. You know, it doesn't feel like there's real people on the other side of that. And so I feel like it's a lot easier to, you know, rationalize in your head, well, maybe this could be good. Maybe this could help people, or maybe it's not that bad.
Yeah, and I think that goes into this whole siloing effect, right? This idea that the algorithm, this is what I call the tyranny of the algorithm. That's my third book. I haven't written it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have my second book that I also haven't written.
I'm waiting
but
for
this
them.
is I know, the third book. But the tyranny of the algorithm is only showing you what you've already seen and what it thinks you want to see. So if your information is, I want to see, I like this, I like chocolate ice cream. Well, your feed is going to become populated with all things chocolate ice cream. All right. So this idea is you don't even know that there's a vanilla out there. So this is the society that we're living in. How do you guys get your news?
I do think, you know, I'll say it, I do think social media is probably the biggest way for me. It's what I'm most tuned into, and I'm the kind of person where, you know, I'll see something on social media or on the internet and I'll do some research, dig into it, but, you know, of course that's not the case for everybody online.
Well, when you say social media, which platforms are you referring to?
Yeah.
I'm on Instagram a lot.
So it's Instagram?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same for me. I would say Instagram, and I'm not calling it X. I still call it Twitter. So.
Good for you. Stay strong.
And I also, Apple News, they get me, like, they pop stuff up on my phone.
I've heard more and more folks talk about Apple News.
Yeah, and they'll do, like, some kind of daily digest, I guess, type of things, and then I'll just click on it and read, and so that's kind of
Yeah, I'm gonna give my engineer, we're going to go a few minutes. Is that okay? They're giving us a thumbs up. Yeah, so this is all a little nutty about social media and all this other kind of stuff. I did want to get our young people's thoughts on one more issue that has popped up in the White House, of course. And one is a discussion among the president and the cabinet about offering a $5,000 payment for citizens to have a baby. Because here's the theory. Here's the video people, get these faces here. So the underlying theory is that U.S. citizens, and by U.S. citizens, the White House means white people, are not having enough children, and because there is a declining population. Right now, the overall U.S. population is not declining. It's actually rising slightly because of immigration. But they want to pay women to have babies. What do you think?
Well, I think, I mean, if we're talking about things being expensive, I mean, having a kid has got to be one of the most expensive things you can do. I don't think $5,000 is making a dent in that at all.
So that's not enough.
I mean, I don't think we should. I don't think
You're
that's
not buying it.
a rational thing to do, but.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, I'm a child and family sciences major, so I'm always into this kind of stuff. But I think it's, I don't know how to put it in a nice way, but I think it's ridiculous, I guess, because we don't have infrastructure that benefits parents and families. This is not a society that is supportive of having children, period.
Yeah, see, I think that's super insight, right? Is that our current political climate loves zygotes and hates children.
Exactly.
And it's like, okay, if you really want to incentivize families, you got to do something more than write a check, though.
I mean, I've got both of my kids. Well, one is in daycare, and let me tell you, that $5,000 is gone. Right? Yeah. Like,
right.
It's expensive.
Right.
Very expensive. And then, we think about even things like maternity and paternity leave and how little there is, if there's any, in fact, for paternity leave, if there's any at all that you get. There's not an infrastructure, as you said, for that. It just doesn't make sense. So it's let's not change anything. But let's try to encourage more babies and give you a little bit of cash and make that happen. Like that's.
It's a little interesting, but see now here this is my problem with the Democrats. Instead of taking this moment of saying, okay, well, you guys are really interesting talking about supporting families, because that's really what they're trying to say is, hey, here's some money to have a family. Okay, well then let's talk about child care. Let's talk about family leave. Let's talk about universal health care. Let's talk about all those things that actually support families. But instead, Democrats are sitting out there saying what a stupid idea it is. Isn't there another way to turn the crazy into talking about real issues for society?
Absolutely. It's wasted opportunities for whatever reason.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
I mean, like, the $5,000 that you're giving to, every mother that has a baby, like, proposed, just put that money into these programs and support families as a whole and, support Americans rather than just let's get more babies so we can.
Yeah, okay. So as young women, do you guys think about that? Do you guys think about having
all
families?
the time?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yes. I think, I know for me personally, it's one of those things where as you get older, you think about it a lot more, and it's a hard thing to think about because it is an expensive decision. It affects your life in a lot of ways, and I have so much respect for mothers and families, but where I am at in my life, it's really hard to think about.
Wow.
Yeah.
As in, you're not going, when I'm 27, I'm going to have 3 kids.
I can't.
Wow.
Which, I mean, not
Well, so
everybody's like that.
that's, and I will say 30 years ago, I think the answer would have been different.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
Yeah, I've always thought about having kids and stuff like that. I guess as a girl, you're kind of socialized to think about that ever since you're a child. But my mother raised me to know that there are so many more amazing things I could do with myself before I'd ever make that decision. And so that's where I'm at, is I'm seeing how far I can go on my own and doing great, amazing things before I think about bringing in another human into this world.
Yeah. And so if the world were less chaotic, would your mind be different about that issue?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. I think if there was some guaranteed security, maybe so. But I feel like for me, I'm in a place where, I want to get my education. I want to make sure that I have a stable and a secure life before, like you said, before bringing another human into that. And so I think maybe if there were more of these infrastructural changes and more support to the average American, absolutely things would change.
That would create the very thing that they want.
Mm-hmm.
More children.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Amazing.
We've solved another
We
problem.
solved yet another problem for
Full
the world.
circle.
I'm sure it'll be better next week. And so next week we'll check in on how the world is doing after we solved it here today. Wow. So what another great addition. Thank you, USM students. You guys are amazing as always. This has been a production of Southern Miss Student Media. I'm giving my engineer the heads up. We're closing out. Our engineer is Kylie Keenan. Thank you, Kylie. Our videographer is Isabel Michaud. Thank you. And our producers are Lily Berghardt and Annabelle Laird. And we will be back next week with the last show of the academic year.
This has been News You Need with Dr. Ed Simpson. News You Need airs Friday afternoon at 12:30 on Southern